If you ever wondered why Mercedes Mone, aka Sasha Banks, left WB, well, good, you're in the right spot, because in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly why she left. The real reason, and that's not clickbait, that's a reality. Much more on that in a minute. But if we want to tell the reason that she departed from WB, well, let's set up the timetable, if you will, right? Because after making a name for herself in NXT, being one of the four horsewomen of WWE, alongside the likes of Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Bayley, well, Mercedes Mone, aka Sasha Banks, well, she went to great heights in WWE, right? She's headlined WrestleMania. She did so at WrestleMania 36. She's a former women's champion, former women's tag team champion, right? She's done it all. She's wrestled everyone that WWE has to offer up until 2022. Fortunately, though, the reality of the situation is, whether it was under Triple H or whether it was Vince McMahon, things just didn't line up for Mercedes. Mostly Vince McMahon, right? I think Triple H did a pretty good job with her in NXT. But with Vince, look, the reason that she initially walked out, okay, was the disagreement, right? Let's go back to 2022. Her, Naomi, they're women's tag team champions. Vince wants them to work a multi-person match. And at a time where you're champions, Monet was going to, I get them always confused, but it's either or. Monet was going to challenge for the Raw Women's title, and then Naomi was going to challenge for the SmackDown Women's title at a PLE that was coming up. And they didn't like creative, and so they walked out. They put the championships on the desk of Johnny Ace, and they legitimately walked out of the company. WB stripped them of the titles. They suspended them. They essentially erased them from history. Fast forward several months, there was rumors that WB was talking with Naomi. They were talking with Monet. It didn't happen. Naomi went to TNA, later returned in January 2024 to WB, while Monet went to New Japan. Right? She did her New Japan tour. She did a lot of good stuff. She got injured, unfortunately, in a match against Willow Nightingale, and then was sidelined for a year. She signed with AEW. There was a chance of her going back to WB, and that I will discuss more in a minute. So what was the real reason that Monet left WWE? If it wasn't the walkout, if it wasn't the disagreement, if it wasn't because of Vince, what was it? Well, while appearing on The Ringer, Monet was asked, "Why did you leave WB in 2022? She said, "I don't like to be handcuffed. The only place to grow is with change, and I needed that change," end quote. Huh. Handcuffed. Huh. That's interesting. You needed change. You needed change. I can see that. Here's what I don't get. If you need change under Vince McMahon, 100% against, I agree with you. I get it. I understand it. That old man was so out of touch, it wasn't even funny. That's why when people bring up rumors about him starting a new promotion, it's laughable to me. Right? Sure, you're going to have some talent, but not like top-tier talent. Now, with Monet, she had talks with WWE when she first left. In fact, we know by multiple reports, and you can go down the credible journalist list, if you will, she had talks with AEW, and she had talks with WWE multiple times throughout 2023. In fact, it got to a point where she went from talking to both sides, then she would shut down one side. So she would shut down, for instance, AEW, then she would talk exclusively with WWE. That side, that talk would be ended, and then a little bit of time would go by, and then they would start talking with both sides, her and her agent. Okay? This happened numerous times at a time where she really didn't have a lot of leverage, considering she was coming off of an injury and they couldn't pull her in and bring her in right away. The change aspect, okay, I can see in this regard. Regardless of the boss, if you work, and not the boss, Sasha Banks, I'm talking about Vince McMahon, but if you work at a place for so long, Do you get tired of the atmosphere? Do you get tired of working with the same people? Do you get tired of that brutal WWE schedule where you're on the road over 200 days a year? Do you get tired of that? You want to change that? You want to experience that? You want to work with new people? You want to go over to Japan and work with those folks? Okay, I can see that. So I buy her saying that was the real reason, right? I really, really do. Yes, people can get over the disagreement. It's a creative dispute, yada, yada, yada. I mean, how many times have we heard of people getting into events and the old man brings them back, right? Like, it's happened. Obviously, it won't happen anytime soon, but it's happened. Do I think she made the right decision to leave WWE? I think it's a situation in which she left on really bad terms. Then, Steve Austin always talked about his 2002 walkout as being one of the, either one of or the biggest regret of his entire career, if not life, because he walked out because he didn't want to do the job for Brock Lesnar. Keep in mind, Vince booked him to lose to Brock Lesnar in an unadvertised King of the Ring qualifying match on Monday Night Raw after Austin had criticized the booking and the lack of creative direction of WWE. But people have creative disputes all the time. Get over it, right? So I don't see it as that. And if she really didn't want to return to WWE because that was such a big issue, I don't think she would have had talks with WWE. I don't think she would have had talks multiple times with WWE. I just don't buy that narrative. And I don't think you should buy that narrative. Look, she's already ruled out that she would never, ever go back to WWE. She's open to going back to WWE. So I think that gives credence to what I'm saying here. Now, in regards to when that will happen, well, I'm not a fortune teller, and I won't pretend to be. I don't have a magic 8-ball. I don't know when she's going to return. Do I think she's going to return to WWE? Of course. Do I want to see her return to WWE? Of course. Do I necessarily like what she's been doing in AEW? No. It feels 100% different. Change from what she was doing in WWE, which I understand could be like, well, duh, it's a different name. It's the same gimmick. It's the same gimmick as the boss. All she did was she turned it. First of all, she wears fancier clothes. Okay. She changed up her hairstyle more. And instead of Sasha Banks, it's Mercedes Mone. And instead of the boss, it's the CEO. That's all she did. It's the same character. What has changed, though, is her promos. Now, I expect when she returns to in-ring action and she starts working on a more competitive and regular basis, I expect her to do really, really good things in the ring and have a lot of really, really good matches.